Contracts are supposed to protect you, but what if yours is actually working against you? One overlooked clause, one small mistake, and suddenly you're stuck eating unexpected costs or losing control over your own event. Most planners don't realize the risk until it's too late. In this episode, we're exposing the contract mistakes that every event planner should avoid. Let's get started.
Ladies, let's jump into it today. We've got a hot topic. It can come across a little dry, but we're going to have fun with it. All right, you're passing that. Yeah. I mean, there's much fun as you can have with event contracts. So between the three of us, we've dealt with thousands of these types of contracts, and both on the vendor side as well as on the client side. And especially with the pandemic, you're dealing with, how to get out of contracts along the way. So let's dive right into what are the biggest contract mistakes or traps that event planners need to understand.
Ooh, that's a big whole question. Starting on top. Yeah, really, just putting us right here in the middle of it. I think one of the things that I think about when I think about contracts is it seems like there's a lot of information and reading through a contract really quickly and not really understanding exactly what you're signing. And I know we had an episode recently where we talked about, mistakes that we made when we first started out. So I think it's something to kind of be said here too, is taking that minute, reading through the contract, really understanding what the contract it actually encompasses. And I think one of the things too that we often need to remember is our clients are signing a contract with us, and then we're signing a contract with our vendors. We need to make sure that those terms align, correct? Because we never want to be in a situation where we are not able to meet the needs of the contract obligations that we have with our vendors. So I think that's something kind of key to take away is making sure that we're really understanding the terms and making sure we're comparing it to our vendor contracts.
Yeah, I love that, especially the fact that, we are kind of that middleman sometimes. So we do have to make sure that everything is being aligned, because if there's, one contract that says XYZ and the other contract says XY, credit's gone out the door.
And I think that's a difference between like a reputable company to partner with for your events and somebody that's just sort of winging it. Is we go through the process of vetting all of our vendors and having them sign our contract that has all the terms that do already align with our contracts with our clients, right? So when you're in a situation sometimes and the vendor says, well, I don't want to sign your contract, for whatever reason, how do you approach that? And how do you manage the fact that the contracts that, you might have to sign might be a little bit different than the original, or the standard, right? Because there's always people tweaking contracts every day. So how do you approach that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a tough call. I mean, we want to be cognizant of the fact that we can modify terms, we can modify different things and be agreeable to certain terms and conditions. But the bottom line is, and I think this is a good point to make, most DMCs, they model their contract off of a really standard admin approved contract document, right? I think it's kind of all start from that level set point.
That'd be the Association of Destination Management Executive International.
International, it's a mouthful, but, much like a contract, there's a lot of words there. Yeah. But I think the priority is we're all kind of making sure that we are the standard bearers in assuring that our contracts are aligned in that space. So I think that's a great place to start, is understanding that we are all approaching this from a sound, liability perspective in how we build our contracts from the get-go. And then I think from there, there are opportunities for us to really understand, like, what are we trying to modify and what are the repercussions if we make those modifications? Is it going to impact, payment terms? Is it going to impact our liabilities? Is it going to impact a force majeure clause? Like, there are big things that we have to think about when we think about contracts that it's not a one-size-fits-all approach, but there's always a place to go back to where we're like, these are the standard things that we have to make sure that we include. I don't know, like maybe we start there. Like maybe we kind of break down what are some of those things that like we always look for to make sure that are buttoned up in a contract. And your boots on the ground. I mean, you're in the midst of it every day. So tell us a little bit about that. Like, what are your things that you look for when you're looking over a contract as a half partner?
Honestly, liability. That's a big conversation that, our company as a whole, CSI just had, is about liability, making sure we're covered. Are we covered insurance-wise to have, a bunch of acrobats swinging around in a chandelier? Because God knows we will do that. You will have the acrobats up there on chandeliers, and it's, making sure that we have a contract that is going to keep us safe. If an acrobat falls and breaks her leg, we're not going to be liable for that
and neither is our client, because we're out here trying to protect our clients too. We're not wanting to shut them under the bus. The contract is an agreement for both of us. It's not just an agreement for us to say, okay, when the deal's done, we're good. It's, we want to make sure it's a mutual agreement here.
No, absolutely. And I think that's why we do try to put like master services agreements in place of a lot of our contracts, so we can all agree to the terms up front that we both feel very comfortable with. And then that way, when we're vetting our vendors and we're deciding who we want to work with, we only work with people that can agree to those terms with us too, right? And I see a lot of vendors that pull things out that maybe aren't related to the services that they provide out of our contract. No problem. No big deal. Right? But if they take out force majeure, like, we're going to have a conversation. All right. It's time to get into the nitty-gritty of vendor contracts. In this segment, we're playing a little game called Accept, Amend, Reject. Each of us are going to share a contract clause, and the other hosts have to say whether they'd accept it, amend it, or outright reject it. Here we go. Let's go a little bit deeper.
All right.
Let's get into the nitty-gritty.
I like this.
Let's talk about some specific scenarios and contracts that we probably see before. If not, they're very realistic that we could see. And let's play a little game called Accept, Amend, Reject.
Ooh, it's like a dating show, but that we like to just sexy it up.
All right, so each of us are going to share a contract clause, and then we'll each decide whether we'd accept it, amend it, or reject it, okay? All right, I'll start. The vendor will determine setup and teardown times at their sole discretion and is not responsible for delays or conflicts with other vendor schedules.
Reject.
Yes, reject. The legally bold red letters, reject.
A lot of questions for that vendor.
Right? I mean, here's the first thing. We all fight over loading dock space.
Yeah.
So it's not even their decision at the end of the day a lot of the times. And there's always other things that we're working around with everybody else. So how this vendor could think that would be something they would have the right to do, mind-blowing.
Mind-blowing. I have a good one. The event planner agrees that the vendor will be the sole provider of insert service here and will not allow competitors to operate within the event, regardless of client preferences or prior agreements. Ooh. To make sure,
I think it depends on what best service is. I'm having trouble having like a concrete answer to that, because you think about it, sometimes when we're working in hotels, you can't bring in outside food. You can't bring in certain things that the hotel does provide, and I could see that coming up in a contract. So I would potentially accept it depending on the service.
okay.
Man, that was a good answer, Kara.
Oh, you're skip at all your answer.
Oh, side on over there. No, I do agree. It depends on the service, but I always question. I like to work with people that are wanting to work and collab and play nice in a sandbox too. I mean, we work in a world full of event planners, and I've definitely worked events before where I haven't been the only event planner there. And although it's a little awkward, I'll be okay. So I think I'll maybe amend this.
Amend it. I mean, ladies, for this clarify, with the services.
Yeah.
Because that term is probably important to know.
Yeah.
If you're signing a contract.
Yeah, are they bringing in balloons? Because if so, yeah, they have only one.
All right, I think you have one first, right, Samantha?
Oh, I think I do. Okay, let's do one. Last one. All right, a vendor reserves the right to change staff assigned to the event, including key personnel, without notice or approval from the event planner. Accept, amend, or reject.
I mean, this happens. Yeah, this happens all the time.
So, I mean, I would probably accept this. I think if you guys listened to an episode a couple weeks back, we talked about how, the event planning team actually just got dismantled on site at the event. So you could end up in those types of scenarios, sickness, all kinds of things that could cause your team to change. I think communication is key to success here. It's not a contract chart, but communicating and over-communicating information, as there might be a chance that could happen. You hope it doesn't, but I think I would accept it, because at the end of the day, if the job is really well planned in advance, anyone could come on and execute it, depending on the service.
I'm gonna disagree. I'm gonna say amend.
Okay.
And I would amend it to say with prior notification to me of the change, so that I know that it's happening. So that it has to have that prior written approval that we're changing plans. This is going to be the new staff that we're bringing, the new kind of process for load in, whatever it may be. That's my amendment I would make.
And then what happens when they tell you something and then you don't let?
Oh, well, I freak out either way. Yes, I know about it. Good. You know, I think we're just adding one little sentence in there to give you a little bit of peace of mind. Because, yeah, you're right. It's going to happen, but at least just let me know about it.
Yeah, why? But I've had clients write in, I want a senior event manager on my program versus a coordinator. And then, you know, if they write that into you know, an exhibit A or something that is aligned to a contract, then that over trumps it anyways, right? So it's true. I think it depends on the program and all of that kind of stuff. But generally speaking, if we're dealing with, you know, maybe one of our vendors, do I care if the owner of the flower shop shows up or if one of their staff members? Not really, as long as the flowers show up the way we've talked about.
Yeah, that's true.
If you've been to one corporate event, you've been to them all, right? Same venues, same setups, same forgettable experiences. Not on our watch. At CSI DMC, we design events that actually make an impact. Immersive experiences, unexpected venues, and moments your attendees will talk about long after it's over. If you're ready to ditch the cookie cutter and create something unparalleled, we should talk. Head over to csi-dmc.com and start planning today.
Some event planning disasters sound too outrageous to be real. But are they? In this segment, each of us will read an event planner confession, and the others have to decide, is this a true story or completely made up? Once we guess, we'll break down the dirty details. All right, this is one of my favorite times in the episode where we get to dive into our concussions. Woo! And let's have some fun and talk about some confessions that are real and confessions that are maybe not so real and make our guesses as to which ones we think. So I will kick us off and read a confession. Picture this. We're managing an event for one of our more conservative clients, and to add a little flair, we booked a champagne girl. You know, one of those performers with a big ball gown style skirt, hold glasses full of champagne. The photo we saw showed her in a full-length dress underneath, totally elegant, totally appropriate. Well, head to event day. She arrives, and instead of a full-length dress, there's no skirt underneath the champagne holder at all. Just a see-through cage of champagne glasses, and her standing inside wearing nothing but a leotard. Now, if this had been Vegas nightlife, no problem. But for a very traditional client, even though the event was in Las Vegas, it wasn't going to fly. Cue panic mode. We had minutes to fix this before the guests arrived, so what do? We grabbed a tablecloth. Yes, a literal tablecloth, wrapped it around her, and turned it into a makeshift skirt to cover her up. Crisis averted, client happy, in the champagne skirt, girl still serving in style. Lesson learned. Make sure that your costume or expectation of costume is clearly outlined in a contract.
I have lots of questions. One, you say there's nothing under the skirt. I'm hoping. A leotard. Okay, sorry. Yeah. Okay, that wasn't clear, and I got it.
Yeah, under.
My first image was not. That was out, and I was like, it was not a leotard. That's quite a. Yeah, that is quite an event.
Yes. Memorable, we'll say.
Wow. Okay. So, I mean, that for me, that seems realistic. Yeah, I definitely think the makeshift grabbing a tablecloth and making it work also seems like something we as event players would do easily on site. I'm going to say real or fake? Real? What do you think, Sam?
You know, I like all of your points, but I just don't. How do you get that tablecloth and like put it with the outline of that skirt?
Or so you're thinking logistics. How is that going to act?
Logistically, how? And if they did it, I need a video tutorial. So I'm going to go fake.
All right. Well, folks, I was actually at that event. It was fake.
I'm terrible at this game. I quit.
No, quit. Were you the one that was grabbing the tablecloth?
I did help with the tablecloth. It was said as when you always order extra tablecloths.
Oh, what's gay? Just erase all I need a skirt. Yes. I'll put on the notes on it.
But, you know, I'll never the look on the client's face and we starting to bring her out, and she was like, "You're not bringing her out like that, right? Where's the rest of her dress?" And so we put the tablecloth on the inner layer of the champagne dressy. So it aligned with the look and feel of the rest of the room, which was great. But that was a lesson learned. Ask about colors and lengths and all of those things and write them right into the contract so there's no surprises.
Oh, all right. Why? All right. And was the dress, like the linen, did it go longer? And the skirt, like, was she dragging around this, like, long linen with her?
Yeah, I actually had a whole lot of safety pins, and we did a whole lot of pinning and some double-sided tape and a few other things along the way, and we pinned it right to that.
Magic moment. Had a huge keynote speaker for a corporate conference and thought the contract was airtight. There was a clause that says first-class travel accommodations required. which I assumed meant a nice flight. 2 weeks before the event, the speaker's team sent an invoice for a private jet, totaling $85,000. When we pushed back, they simply said, it's in the contract. We paid it, or we either pay it or they weren't showing up. Really big.
Wait, okay. Wait, you see, I think
Then had to be some better terms in that rider to you. Thank you. That is not the kind of surprise you made, because at the end of the day, first class is not a private jet. First class is a front row seat on the plane. You know, maybe a private car service once you land. Sure, we'll give you that too. So I don't know. I'm a little suspicious. I'm a little sus. Not gonna lie.
I like that word. Sus. Yeah, who is the keynote? I would need to know who the keynote speaker is. Why are they needing this proof for?
that's the thing that threw me. It's like, the keynote speaker threw me. He told me big headliner, like main stage entertainer, might be a little bit more believable. I've never booked a keynote speaker that required that private.
Well,
writer.
yes. We booked like past presidents and things like that. You never know.
Even past presidents, they're gonna be okay in first class
Nowadays.
All right, I'm going fake. Okay.
I was fake and then I was real, but I want to go back to fake. I'm going to go back to fake.
Ding, ding, ding. You guys are right. It is fake. Yeah, it is fake.
That was too. Oh, but contract wasn't nonetheless.
All right, so I have one for you guys. All right. I hired an AV vendor for a 3-day summit and negotiated a great rate. This is starting off great. Everything was fine until I got the final invoice, $50,000 higher than expected. Apparently, the contract had a clause saying that excessive correspondence outside of meetings would result in overage fees. The vendor tracked every call, every email, and every Slack message and charged us every minute of extra communication. Real or fake?
Oh, that's not saying. I believe that's real. And you know why? Because there's some people out there that really get nickel and dime, and they have all those like time tracking apps out there that allow you to kind of see what your communications are and be able to track all of that information for you. I mean, the AI and everything as well. I think that could have very easily been trapped.
Okay.
I think that if they put that line into the contract and you didn't notice that could be a red flag, that's on you. That's a contract lesson that you should have learned. But But I think that could have really happened. But if they ever want your business again, they're a fool.
Yeah, okay, so chaotic.
See, this one's a tough one because I really question what was the correspondence. Was it pertinent information?
Or was it like, hey, having your breakfast? Oh, now more what we know. Like, is it everything? Is it everything? Like every thought that comes in your
like if it's that, then okay, yeah, sure. I would love to charge people for doing that. Yeah.
Oh man.
But
we have some clients that require a lot of time. Yeah, and some that don't. And they still save money with us. Quite us.
yes, yeah.
So I don't blame them for wanting to get their dollars worth out of us. I just think a $50,000 surplus. And, you know, candidly, we base a lot of our career off of long-time relationships with our vendor partners. It's true. That one just went right off the list.
Yeah. Right off of it.
All right. Well, I mean, I think we're a little split, but I think we're both saying fake at this point. Yeah, I just thought it was real. You're going real? Oh, yeah.
I'm going to go fake just because they're going fake. I just, like, if we're communicating, that's crazy. That's crazy to me. Well, I'm going to go fake just because I don't like it.
I don't like it either, but I think it could really happen for sure. I think it could really happen, but it was fake.
Yeah, sorry.
Wait, good have got.
Yeah, we'll get a gut on that one. I think the key here is, like you said, in what world would we sign something like that? In what world?
And what world would they ever think that we would worry about them?
Yep, yeah. We have a relationship out the door.
If I saw excessive correspondence on a contract moving forward, nope, no sir, no, it's not.
No.
Gather your elastic for Sam.
This is just lessons for me now.
Not all contract terms are created equal. Some are genius, some are outdated, and some should have never existed in the first place. I'm about to throw out a series of event contract clauses, and we're going to say whether we like it or not. No middle ground, no hedging, just a simple call, hot or not.
We're out here spilling the secrets, sharing the disasters, and giving you the inside scoop on what really happens in corporate event planning. You can return the favor by heading over to our YouTube channel and subscribing to Event Planner Confessions. While you're there, make sure to tap the notification bell so YouTube can let you know when new episodes go live. All right, let's get back to the show.
So not everything about contracting is bad, and not all contract clauses are nightmares. Some are actually game changers and lifesavers. So I thought we could, shift gears a little bit and talk about what clauses we should always have in our contracts, and really that, can save our butts when it comes to planning an event. So, we've got a whole lot of clauses that we always deal with every day. Is there a clause that you could think of that you're like, thank God I had that clause in there and it really saved me?
I mean, you're boots on the ground. You're out this up. Listen, I'm out here. I'm out here. Ask your right one. What is the thing that is really that you are thrilled? You've has relief easy in contract.
I tend to go towards a payment clause. I think it's great to have a due date. Give me a due date. When do I need to have the money? When should you expect to be paying the money? And how can we make sure that we're not operating with zero funds?
As we won't operate with exactly right work. We want to be in a stay in business. And we did that a little bit before COVID, and that look where it got us, right? I've been actually working with a client quite regularly, and it is a constant conversation about deadlines and rush fees and, getting information in a timely manner and signing up on things and all of that. And we're actually very deep into the MSA process right now to say, okay, what do we need to do on both sides to make this work so we don't continue to have this conversation every time when we get within 30 days of these, huge mega events, to help them make decisions faster, but also to help them, internally with their processes to get it all accomplished. So I think that's one that comes up all the time, and I hold people to it because simply we're getting charged the rush fees on our end. Yeah, so we have to charge the rush fees back out, and you communicate that from the beginning, and it's in every paperwork. There's no surprises. So that one has saved my butt a lot, actually. What else?
I think the rush fees was a good one. I think the other thing too is some of those guarantee dates that we need information by, and really being stringent and understanding what those guarantee dates, similar to the rush fees. But, we all know that we owe guarantees and numbers and certain, final commitments to our vendors. So those things have saved my butt a lot of times when I feel like clients feel like they have a little bit of extra wiggle room. And I'm like, no, take a look at the contract. This is the guarantee date that we needed this information by in order to execute XYZ, or in order to manage your guest count or whatever it might be. So I think making sure that we have stringent guarantee dates and really holding our hands to those things based on the contract clauses are incredibly valuable. Incredibly.
Absolutely. And I think cancellation doesn't mean refund. Yet there's another big one that we've done a lot of focus on lately too, right? It's, how much time really was spent on this? What is refundable versus isn't refundable? And how can we be flexible but stringent because we have to cover our butts? And I think that's a clause that has saved us quite a bit, and we're a lot less likely to be flexible on than we used to be because, at the end of the day, we have to spend a lot of time to plan an event, and sometimes it's hard to qualify that time because we don't charge by the hour, generally speaking. Our on-site teams and whatnot charge by the hour, but we don't get paid if we don't have something holding that in place where a cancellation happens and our time is covered, in addition to any, out-of-pocket fees and venue costs or vendor deposits and that sort of thing. So that's another one I think is very important.
This is not a contract clause, but I think one thing that I think also is an incredible value for our tool, an incredible tool in our toolkit is letters of intent. To really get those things locked in early so that we can execute on the expectations of our clients. And in order to do that, obviously, it's signing that letter of intent and getting that deposit amount so that we can then go forth and move their program forward, and really pushing that to be the first stage if they're not ready to get to that contract phase, or if they're having, challenges with procurement and they need to kind of have that additional time to get the full contract flushed out. That has been a lifesaver for me to say, I'm here to help you, but you have to help me in the process in order for us to make this happen. So it's not a contract term, but I think it's something that is an incredible valuable.
Well, sometimes you throw it out there, like, let's sign an LOI, and the client went back and said, just send me a contract. I don't want to have to do that later.
That's true.
And that happened a couple times in the last couple of weeks for me, where a client said, you know what? I don't want to go through the paperwork process twice. I know we're going to work with you. I don't know all the details of it, but I'm comfortable with, signing that contract now so that we can get you that deposit so that when the decisions are made, we aren't scrambling at that point. And I think that's an even better way to
Or I didn't think about that as like it being an opportunity. It just opens up the conversation and see what might make the most sense to say it every one time in the long run. So there you go. That's the that's that LOI. It's about to say that's a new lesson for me is LOI. Get the LOI signed. For jaggled LOI and then get the contract or have the contract. I like this idea. Boom. All right.
Not all contract clauses are nightmares. Some are absolute lifesavers. In this segment, we're each sharing a contract clause we swear by. The ones that have saved us from huge disasters, kept us protected, or just made our lives easier. Every event planner should have these in their back pocket.
Let's do one more kind of fun. Let's make contracts fun. One more talk here today. Yeah, try. Because not all contract terms are created equal. And some make a lot of sense. Some make no sense at all. Some are outdated. Some are a lot of things. So let's just call this contracts hot or not. Because none of they are. Yes, we are. They contract sexy today. They're so hot. So I'm going to give you an example, and I just need a hot or not from each of you. Okay? A mandatory 20% gratuity will be added to the final invoice for all vendor services, regardless of performance or client satisfaction.
Not.
A mandatory 20% gratuity will be added to the final invoice for all vendor services, regardless of performance or client satisfaction.
Ooh, I'm going to go not.
I'm going to go hot. I'm going to go hot.
But we're in a freezing world of tipping it for. The tipping world that we're in and where everything deserves a tip is a little excessive. But what we have to tell you, gratuity. I mean, the fact that we lost you for gratuity, no matter what you're doing nowadays.
Yeah, you could say, hi, how are you? Okay, that'll be 20%. Thank you.
Literally, how often your day does that happen, right? But in what we do, in service, I believe gratuity comes up in a way that makes sense.
Yeah, Jilly. So I'm here for the hot. All right, next one. Client must use venue's preferred vendors for catering, AV, and rentals. Outside vendors are prohibited unless approved in writing and subject to additional fees. I'm going to go hot.
Yeah, I'm going to go hot on that. I like it.
I'm hot on it too.
It happens all the damn time, yeah? All the time. Yeah, seriously. There's so many rules when you get into just one venue.
And I understand why, right? They did burn whatever venue. But the fact that you could maybe get something approved in writing and pay an additional fee if they're comfortable, that's fun. That's fun.
Sure. I like it.
All right. Client may request unlimited revisions to the event plan, timelines, and logistics up until 2 weeks before the event.
Absolutely no.
So it's a nod? Oh, that's a heck nod for me. It is a happens every damn day. I know. But does it suck? Absolutely. Yeah, I'm going to go with the not, but I'm just going to be realistic to say it is hot. Our clients feel it.
Hey, client, it's not hot. You do.
So you know.
Oh, no. But yeah, it was sex sell. You give it to us early.
Honestly, we get it. It ain't a robbery. We're totally kidding. But sometimes can feel a little like a not.
These papa.
It's the world we're in. And I think, it's all about reading the paperwork, and as long as they read everything and then they haven't added to it, but they haven't read anything, they just want to keep changing and changing and changing, or they didn't communicate stuff internally and they want to keep changing and changing, that's a different story. Yeah. So I'm with you. All deposits and payments are non-refundable regardless of event cancellation or unforeseen circumstances.
That's a tough one. And I'm feeling a little lukewarm.
A little lukewarm. I'm going to go not.
Yeah, I'm going to go not too.
I think on that not, that will get us in hot water. Yeah, I do that. Absolutely, my thought there. Absolutely. There's a lot of
moments where that could be a really big challenge, especially depending on what we've signed on behalf of them already and what we might owe out. So,
all right, one more. The venue and vendors reserve the right to photograph and post event content online, including client branding and attendees' likenesses without prior approval. Not.
Yeah, we covered this earlier. I agree not. And contract.
Yep. I agree. And I'm glad we talked about it earlier. Allowed it to come full circle.
What's the secret to writing an event proposal that clients can't resist? In the next episode, we'll break down the details that matter most, the red flags that can cost you the job, and how to craft a proposal that stands out in the best way possible. If you want to win bigger, better events, you won't want to miss this one.
Remember, every detail counts, every moment matters, and every event is a chance to create a memorable experience. Until next time.